Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. I am absolutely thrilled you're tuning in today. We are going to take a fresh look at English grammar. But do me a favor and just forget everything you thought you knew about those rigid, dusty old rules you had to memorize back in school. Instead, I want you to think of the English language as this incredibly exciting, versatile toolkit of building blocks. Once you know what each block looks like and what it's actually designed to do, you can build literally anything you want to say. So let me ask you something. What really makes a good sentence? Is it, big fancy vocabulary? Perfect punctuation? Actually, the real secret to analyzing and constructing great sentences lies in something much more fundamental. It's all about understanding the specific jobs that words do. Every single word in a sentence has a role, a purpose, a reason for being exactly where it is. Okay, let's dive into this. The English language has over 1 million words. I know, that sounds incredibly overwhelming, right? But here is the crazy part. Every single one of those words can be categorized into just 9 basic types. Yep, just 9. That is a super manageable toolkit. We call these types the parts of speech or word classes. Now, there's actually a bit of a funny grammar controversy around this number. If you look at older textbooks, some traditionalists split verbs up into 2 categories to get 10 parts of speech. Others kind of lumped determiners in with adjectives to end up with just 8. But for this explainer, we're going to stick with the modern, standard, and frankly much more streamlined 9-part system. It's just the absolute cleanest way to understand how the language functions today. So, here is our roadmap for today. 1. The 9 building blocks. 2. Meet the word classes. 3. Putting the pieces together. 4. Words with multiple jobs. And finally, 5. Why this matters.
All right, Section 1, the 9 building blocks, the sentence ecosystem.
Now, what's really interesting here is if you imagine the English language as a massive job market. Every single part has a highly specific function. Verbs, they're your engines. They provide the action or state of being, like work or sing. Nouns are the VIPs, the people, places, and things, like dog or London. Adjectives describe those nouns, telling us if the dog is big or red. Adverbs do that exact same describing job, but for verbs and adjectives, telling us if you're eating quickly or silently. Pronouns step in as stunt doubles to replace nouns, like he or she. Prepositions link nouns to other words, showing relationships like to or on. Conjunctions are basically the glue, joining things together with words like and or but. And interjections? Those are your sudden bursts of emotion, like ouch or hi. Moving right along to Section 2, meet the word classes, understanding roles. While most of those 9 classes probably ring a bell, I really want to clarify one that can sometimes be a little sneaky, and that's the determiner. This is that unique word class that sometimes got lost or just squished in with adjectives in older systems, but determiners have a very distinct job. They don't describe what a noun is like, they limit or determine the noun. They tell us exactly which one or how many. Words like the, to, some, or many. If I just say I have dogs, well, that's pretty vague. But if I use a determiner and say I have 2 dogs, you instantly have a clear boundary. That is the limiting power of the determiner, for sure. Okay, Section 3, putting the pieces together. Sentence building. Theory is great and all, but let's shift to practice and actively construct some sentences. Let's start with the absolute bare minimum required for a complete thought. John works. We have a noun, John, and a verb, works, a person, and an action. That's it. 2 building blocks, and the job is entirely done. It's short, it's punchy, and it is a perfectly legal English sentence. Let's move to and see how this builds. Listen to this. Tara speaks good English. We've just snapped on an adjective, good, and a second noun, English. We went from a basic 2-part framework to a 4-part structure that paints a much more detailed, descriptive picture. All right, now let's really scale up the complexity. She ran to the station quickly. Look at how the sentence just comes alive. We swapped out a noun for a pronoun, she. We injected a preposition, to, and a determiner, the, to give us direction to a very specific place. And we added an adverb, quickly, to tell us exactly how she was moving. Prepositions and adverbs bring so much motion and specific direction to our thoughts. And this brings us to the ultimate climax of our building blocks. Check this out. Well, she and my young John walked to school slowly. Listen to the underlying structure there. Interjection, pronoun, conjunction, determiner, adjective, noun, verb, preposition, noun, adverb. Every single one of the 9 parts of speech is actively working in this single sentence simultaneously. It is in perfect harmonious balance. It's literally like a finely tuned engine where every gear has a highly specific role, which perfectly leads us into Section 4, Words with Multiple Jobs, the Shapeshifters. Here is the major twist of this whole thing. English words aren't fixed to just one job title forever. They are total shapeshifters. Let's contrast 2 sentences. First, my work is easy. Here, work is a thing. It's a noun. But listen to this one. I work in London. Exactly the same word, identical spelling, identical pronunciation, but now it's an action. It's completely changed its part of speech to a verb, based entirely on its structural job. And if you think that's wild, get a load of the tiny 3-letter word, but. You probably think of it as a simple conjunction, right? I like dogs, but I don't like cats. Sure. However, if you look in a comprehensive dictionary, but is a massive multi-hyphenate. It actually has 6 different jobs. Depending on the sentence, but can act as a verb, a noun, an adverb, a pronoun, a preposition, and a conjunction. No way, right? Talk about the flexibility and, okay, maybe the absurdity of the English language. Let's look at one more shapeshifter, the word well. If I ask you, are you well? I'm using it to describe a noun, you. That makes it an adjective. But if I say, she speaks well, it's describing the verb speaks, so it instantly pivots to an adverb. And if I just exclaim, well, that's expensive, it dramatically transforms into an interjection. It is all about the context. Finally, Section 5, Why This Matters. Practical use. We've looked at the blocks, we've built the sentences, and we've met the shapeshifters. But how does this actually help you? Well, the crucial point is this one simple question. What job is this word doing in this sentence? This right here is your golden rule. When you're reading a super complex article or trying to write a persuasive email and you get stuck, just ask yourself this question. It is the absolute ultimate tool for reverse engineering the English language. By figuring out the job of a confusing word, you instantly unlock the structure and the meaning of the entire sentence. You've got the framework now. You know the 9 building blocks. You understand that words are basically hired to do specific jobs and that they can totally change hats depending on where you place them. So my final question for you is, are you ready to look at every single word you read today completely differently? Because once you see the matrix of these building blocks, you're never going to read, write, or speak exactly the same way again. Thank you so much for joining me in this explainer, and hey, happy sentence building.